When it comes to floral preservation, everybody wants to talk about the pretty parts, but that's only one half of the equation. Here at Floral Art Academy, we teach you about the good, the bad, and the super unsexy. And today, we're going really unsexy. We're talking about silica sand. So welcome to my silica sand station. If you can't dry flowers well, then it's not going to look good. End of story. If you don't know how to dry flowers well, your flowers are going to end up moldy, brown, discolored, and yucky. So you need to know how to dry flowers correctly before you can even get to the beautiful shiny parts. If you're a long-time follower of Floral Art Academy, you know I'm going to start here, and it's PPE. Now first up, you're going to notice my silica sand station is outside. So I've got a little convection oven here where I recharge my silica sand, little table. Then over here we've just got a plastic trestle table where I do all of my work. And that's it, pretty much. I got a chair over here, and that is the whole setup. I am outside because I do not want silica sand inside my house. If you haven't listened to our podcast episodes about silica sand safety, make sure you go and do that now. They're here on YouTube as well. But first up, let's talk about PPE. So if you're doing resin work already, you should have a respirator. But what you might not know is that respirators with acid gas filters are not going to save you from silica sand. And that's because silica sand is particles. It's really, really fine sand, and that's going to pass through your respirator. Acid gases or vapor filters that you've got in your respirator are for gases and vapors and smelly things. So we need to make sure that we also have a particle filter attached to our respirator. These filters also are necessary for sanding resin, because when you sand the resin, you create resin dust, and we definitely do not want that going into our lungs. Second thing that I like to wear when I'm doing silica sand is glasses to protect my eyes. I mean, obviously, if particles can go into my lungs, I don't want those particles entering my eyes either. Like, third, I've got an apron on. If you want to wear long sleeves, if you want to wear like a hazmat suit, that's a great idea. I just like to wear this apron in case I brush things off against my clothes. And then when I go inside to my house, I will take a shower and take off my clothes and put them in the washing machine. You can buy silica sand in a few different forms. It's common to buy silica sand in pouches. We buy our silica sand in 15 kilo tubs. The reason why we charge a $250 drying fee with our bridal bouquet business is that one of these 15 kilo boys costs us $240. Now, silica sand is rechargeable, yes, but it takes time to do that recharging. I'm going to show you exactly how we do that. As you can see, I have many buckets of silica sand on hand. That means that when I get a bridal order, I've always got sand on hand, and I've always got fresh sand. We don't know when the expiry date of silica sand is, so yes, it's rechargeable, but no, it's not infinitely rechargeable, which means there will come a day where your silica sand is going to stop working, and you really don't want that day to be when you've got a bridal bouquet or a funeral bouquet in silica sand. There's nothing worse than pulling out somebody's beautiful bouquet and it's gone moldy, brown, absolutely destroyed because your silica sand wasn't charged. Let's go! Here we just have a little convection oven. It's got 3 trays inside, 3 baking trays. This is off because that's the hot plate on top, so you don't want the hot plate on. We've got this on both, just like a regular oven setting, and we have it at about 140 degrees Celsius. Now, another thing that we do, we have this on an automated timer. So this one will actually click on in the morning, and our oven will bake without us even having to do anything. You can see we only have 1 oven going, so if you had 2 ovens or more, you would be able to be a lot more efficient with recharging your sand. If it wasn't already immediately obvious, please don't use your home oven to recharge silica sand. The effects of silicosis and silica sand are not immediately obvious, and you'll have a lot of people say, oh, but I did it and I'm totally fine. This is like asbestos. We're not going to find out the effects of this until years on, when you've got problems with your lungs that you cannot get rid of. It's a slow and painful condition and death, and so I really, really want you to take this seriously, especially if you are a beginner artist. Please do this outside. side. Another really handy tool for using with silica sand is one of these little strainers, like a little sieve kind of thing. I just use this to catch all of the little flowers when I'm taking my bouquets out of sand. So this catches all the little flowers, and then I can pick those out and get rid of them. If I put these in the oven, they might burn. So we want to make sure that we're not setting things on fire. So this is a really good tool. Question, how much should you charge for bouquet drying in your business? Now, this is a personal decision. A lot of artists like to just put this in the total cost. They don't have a separate fee. However, I like to have a separate fee with my business just because it helps me separate people who are really serious about booking in and paying, and they also got to lock their spot with that. So even if they didn't pay for their package or their items, we were able to be paid to process that bouquet. I did not want to be sitting around with somebody's bouquet because they haven't paid me, or worse, done the work, dried the bouquet. That takes hours, by the way, and then they just ghost me. So that $250 fee was a really good way of figuring out who was serious, who was going to value our time in processing that bouquet, and I have never ever had a single complaint of someone having to pay that $250 fee. So I really want to make sure, beginner artists, that you are valuing your time right from the beginning. Depending on the bouquet, it might take anywhere from 2 to 5 hours to process that. When I say 2 to 5 hours, I mean like in total. So you might be pressing flowers, you might be putting flowers into silica sand, you're taking flowers out of silica sand, you're probably going to have to clean silica sand out of the flowers afterwards. So all of that time adds up. It really adds up. And then you've got the time of recharging your silica sand as well. So I really want you to take note of how much time goes into those labor tasks and whether you're actually charging for them because you need to. We ain't working for free. Storage containers that I like to use for my bouquets are these. These storage containers from Bunnings. They're from the brand Easy Solutions. Now the only problem with Easy Solutions is that they have a handle on the top. Now at first I thought this handle was a great idea. I was like, awesome, so handy. Actually what ended up happening was the handle had little air pockets, and so air was getting in and our flowers weren't drying as efficiently as they should. So we've taken that handle out and just silicone up the holes so that it's completely airtight. If you're a beginning artist and you're not quite ready to invest in big storage tubs, then Tupperware containers are great, especially the food ones, because they're designed to be airtight with those silicone lids. So I would definitely go for Tupperware if you're just starting out. If you haven't watched our bouquet drying mini course yet, you can go check that out on Spotify. All you need to do is subscribe, but you can cancel anytime. I think it's like $7.99 or something like that. And I will take you through my bouquet drying process. How many flowers we have. Sorry, I couldn't find the camera. Here's how many flowers we have out of that bouquet. Now I would say that this is probably a small bouquet, on the smaller end of a bridal bouquet, and I'll show you how much silica sand came out of this box. This bucket was almost empty, and as you can see now, it's nearly full. So we've almost used 15 kilos of silica sand for this amount of flowers, which isn't really that much. So that's why I had my bouquet drying fee at around about the same price as a bucket of silica sand, so that if I didn't have any on hand, I could quickly duck out because our supplier was really close to us, thank goodness. I could quickly duck out and go and get a bucket of silica sand and not be out of pocket. So $250 was our price, $240 was how much the bucket of silica sand cost. I'm in my resin studio now. Before I start pouring, I just want to make sure that all the silica sand is out of the flowers. Now, luckily we're doing a block today, so we're going to be doing things that are face up. And that's great because it means that the silica sand isn't going to fall out of the flowers like it would in a ring holder or a sphere or something upside down. But I'm still going to try and get as much sand out as I possibly can. So to do that, I am just literally going to, with gloves on. I've got gloves on because I don't want the oils to transfer from my fingertips to my flowers because that can show up in the resin. So I'm literally just going to shake them upside down. You're going to get quite a lot of silica sand coming out of flowers like roses. See how many petals there are in there? So that's just so many places for silica sand to hide. So I'm just going to tap, tap, tap all the flowers that I want to get it out of. When it comes to flowers that are a little bit more delicate, like stalk or snapdragon, you might like to use a fine paintbrush or a little makeup brush just to brush out all of the silica sand as much as you can. I've also got quite a nice thick layer of silica sand on the bottom of my box while I'm working. So because I've got a couple of pieces to make for this person, I'm not going to make them all in one day. I want to keep those flowers nice and fresh, especially if you're going to send your bouquets home after you're finished. Really important that you have a decent amount of silica sand with orange beads or reactivated silica sand so that they stay nice and fresh in their container. If you take all of the silica sand out and put your flowers back in here, chances are your boxes are not going to be 100,000% airtight. Air's going to creep back in here and your flowers are going to go brown and yucky over time, especially if you live in a climate like I do, which is subtropical Queensland. It is hot and it is humid here, so really important that we keep these looking as best they can. Another reason why I don't take the flowers out of the sand until I'm ready to pour, so that I can make sure that they look their best. You cannot over dry flowers. I see this a lot on online. People are like, oh, did I over dry my flowers? Is that why they fell apart? No. A flower cannot be over dried. We want the flower to be as dry as possible because we know that resin doesn't like moisture. So we actually want it to be bone dry. We don't want to dry it any further. We want that to be dead. We want those flowers to be dead dry. Yes? So you can't over dry. If a flower falls apart, it's just because it's a fragile flower. There are flowers that are going to do this no matter what you do. Chrysanthemum, sunflowers, daisies, they're all going to fall apart. They're single petal flowers, so they don't have a whole lot of structure keeping them together. There are tricks you can do. I've seen people hot glue the back of flowers before they dry them. I personally haven't bothered to do that, but if you want to try that and see how it goes, please let me know your results because maybe it's worth doing. Moral of the story, you can't over dry a flower. This bouquet that we just took out of sand has been sitting in sand for literally a year. Cannot over dry flowers. It's time for me to get designing now, but if you have any more questions about silica sand or silica sand and resin, drop them below. I would love to answer them for you. And if you have any more questions, jump over to Instagram, send me a DM, let's jump on a coaching call, or just subscribe and stay tuned for more content.